Well, Wounds Australia have just been using the federal government's pre-budget submission process as a chance, a bit of a call to arms really for governments and those that want to be government to address what they call a hidden epidemic, and that is the over 420,000 Australians that suffer from chronic wounds per year. Joining us is the chair of Wounds Australia, Hayley Ryan, to have a look at that this morning. Hayley, thank you so much for your time today. In a bit of a general sense, how do we quantify, how do we actually, some of the characteristics that are chronic wounds?
Yeah, great question, and thanks for having me. Look, there's a few things. One is basically that it's not healing. So a lot of people think of wounds, the first thing they think is, I'll put a Band-Aid on it, it will heal in a couple of days. Well, sometimes a chronic wound, when it gets to around over 4 weeks, it's not healing through the normal stages of healing, we start to really get concerned.
And when we look at those numbers, Hayley, over 420,000 each year. Now, generally, I suppose anybody can be affected because you don't know when and what something might happen to you, but the majority seem to be in that over 65s age bracket, and sadly many in the aged care system across the country, which is quite an interesting point in and of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's one of the things that we know, 420,000, that is an absolute estimate. There is no system in place to actually keep an eye on that, but it does affect older Australians. It's one of the reasons we presented at the Royal Commission for Aged Care, and it's something we're pushing the agenda on because we need to start working on those recommendations to get active on these wounds.
Well, just having a look at the financial side as well, we know that can impact healthcare and aged care budgets up around $3 billion annually. And the typical patient as well, Wounds Australia are saying, Hayley, that can face out-of-pocket expenses of $4,000. So most people don't have $4,000 just sitting around at home under the mattress somewhere. So if you need some money to fix yourself up and you haven't got it, the thing is just not going to get fixed as soon as you need it to.
You said it perfectly, and this is the problem we face. We have people saying, well, I just can't afford the treatment, so I will use the basics of dressings, and then the wound gets worse, and then we're seeing people have amputations. We're seeing people, dying of septic shock. So there's lots of other problems that come of this, and we really need to tackle this agenda.
All right, Hayley, so Wounds Australia believe there are some things that need to be done there. You have your 11-point plan to fight chronic wounds. What are some of the bigger things, the things that you would love to see governments take action on sooner rather than later?
Absolutely. We've got to get moving on the recommendations with the Royal Commission into aged care. We've already identified that wounds affect the older generation. The other thing we really want to focus on is education and training. Let's start taking clinicians through the processes of what's needed. A lot of our universities, in fact, only one university tackles a master's in wound management, and there's no other universities that has it on its agenda. And if you think about your Cert 3 and Cert 4 in aged care, they're often not trained well enough in wound management. And also we want to look at the MBS. How can we start subsidising these dressings to support people to be able to self-manage?
And since you're starting to put this plan out there, what has the appetite been like at that governmental level, Hayley? Has there been any real takers on putting some of these plans forward?
We've pushed quite heavily over the last year. We have made some traction with a number of ministers. Minister Hunt was very excited about our plan. So we're hoping now that we can get that across the line and get that, sign the dotted line and let's get moving.
Look, fingers crossed we can see a little bit of action in that space, Hayley, because again, 420,000 of us, at some point we may very well be in that spot. And if the average out-of-pocket for many folks is $4,000, again, not many of us have $4,000 sitting around, so we need to see some other action at the other end. Fingers crossed we can see that happen. Hayley Ryan, Chair of Wounds Australia, thanks so much for your time and the great work that Wounds Australia are doing in this space. Have a great day.
Thanks so much.